This is Death by Couples Therapy, a hilarious feel-good cozy mystery, Island Whodunit Book 22, written by Tess Marlowe and narrated by Sarah.
Hi, Tess Marlowe here. Before Chapter 1 begins, please take 1 second to look at your screen and hit subscribe. It helps me bring you more free cozy mysteries.
Chapter 1. How come you two started celebrating this early? It's barely 7 a.m., Shannon said, plucking the fanciest-looking heart-shaped chocolate from the box Alex set on the porch table. You know we're big on holiday candy, Alex said, smiling. Be careful, Lucien said, eyeing the box suspiciously. I bet those have booze in them. Bingo! Reg slid the box toward him. Cherry liqueur. Mendoza will kill me if I show up at the station with alcohol on my breath. Lucien slid the box back. It's not like you're operating any heavy machinery, Shannon said, popping the chocolate into her mouth. You don't even carry a gun. I carry a laptop, a tablet, 2 phones, and an infinite number of chargers and cables. Heavy enough for me, he sighed. The heaviest thing I operate is a size 30 paintbrush. Give me another one. Shannon plopped on a chair and motioned to Reg. So, Alex said, looking at 2 of them, what are your plans for your first Valentine's Day? Lucien has a surprise planned, which he's been keeping a secret no matter how much I torture him, which is very suspicious. Usually he cracks pretty fast. It's not suspicious, it's thoughtful. Lucien's ears went a shade pinker. And what's the point of a surprise if I tell you about it? He's got a point. Reg smiled into his coffee cup. Shannon turned to him. What about you two? Anything special? Yes, Alex said before Reg could answer. We're going to the Golden Fig. First, because we haven't seen Julian in forever. Second, because after Bombay helped solve Etienne's murder, we got a 20% lifetime discount and a standing reservation. Bombay thumped his tail proudly. Lucien dropped into the empty chair beside him. Hold on, I helped solve Etienne's murder too. I went undercover. How come I didn't get a discount? Because you got a medal from the French ambassador, Alex said. Bombay got a medal too, Lucien pouted. That's not fair. You were very proud of it at the time, Reg said, laughing. Besides, you got Chef Moreau's recipe album. You don't need to pay anything for frou-frou food anymore. You can cook it yourself. This island treats pets better than humans, Lucien sighed. Next time Polly will get a new car for his invaluable contributions to the island's cultural life. As if on cue, Polly screeched in the distance, Love me some love. Rafa and Gary rounded the corner, each carrying a huge stack of takeout menus. Polly hovered above them in a tiny pink bow tie. Happy Valentine's Day, Gary announced. Alex gave them a once-over. Dare I ask? Initially, my idea was to hit the clubs, Gary started explaining. I mean, Polly is a lady magnet, of course, but having such a handsome wingman, he motioned at Rafa, would be a whole other level. I'm better than you, Polly flapped and gave Rafa a look. But then we looked at the prices and oh man, I know love is priceless, but that's still a bit much, Gary continued, so we decided to order takeout and watch romantic movies. Bombay's ears perked at the word takeout. Isn't it kind of sad to binge-watch and eat on Valentine's Day? Shannon asked. I used to hate those lonely Valentines back in Indiana. That's the thing, we're not lonely, Gary said. Rafa has a projector, and we found brand new white sheets in Ms. Applebaum's stuff. Not exactly brand new, Rafa corrected. More like very well-preserved starchy sets from the 80s or 90s. Anyway, we're going to hang them from Rafa's balcony and have ourselves a real big screen, Gary said. Now we just need to decide what we're ordering. Reg leaned toward the menus. What are the options? Gary spread out the leaflets. Heart-shaped chicken nuggets, heart-shaped pizza, Valentine's nachos with pink ranch dip. Santiago is making guava and ginger empanadas with a secret red sauce and lychee hibiscus sorbet. I could get behind the empanadas, Reg said. Do you maybe want to skip on the Golden Fig and join the Valentines? Alex gave Reg a look. I can always take Angela. No, honey, I would never skip on celebrating our love. He planted a small kiss on her temple, then turned to Rafa and whispered, Save me some. Do you already have the movie lineup? Lucien asked. Rafa sat beside Bombay, who immediately placed his head in the man's lap. All the diehards for starters? Aren't those old Christmas movies? Sorry, guys, Shannon said. I'm working very hard on closing the generational gap, but we're not there yet. Lucien looked confused. What? What did I say? They are Christmas movies, buddy, Reg said, smiling, but they are not old and they are definitely romantic. The good guys, Rafa continued, maybe Ocean's 11. Or Ocean's 8, Gary continued. The ladies are super fun. Suddenly, Alex's phone buzzed on the table. Who's calling you at 7:15 in the morning? Reggie asked. She glanced at the screen. Her face shifted from amused to alert in a single blink. It's Mendoza, she murmured. The porch went still. Bombay lifted his head from Rafa's lap. Reg sighed and took another sip of his coffee. This never ends well. Chapter 2. Alex picked up the phone. Hey, Angela, what's up? Mendoza didn't bother with greetings. Have you ever heard of a therapist named Jeremy Pike? Jeremy Pike? Yes, of course. Why? Just answer first, Mendoza said, clipped, a little breathless. Who is he? He used to be a groundbreaking researcher, she said slowly. Prolific, respected. Everyone in my field reads him at some point. He developed conflict resolution models that were used everywhere from corporate teams to deployed units. I actually used one of his frameworks when I was still at the base. Why? So he was the real deal. Very much so, Alex said. But about 10 years ago, he announced he didn't want to be associated with academia anymore. Said the constraints and committees stifle real understanding of relationships. Then he left the States altogether. He said he wanted to work somewhere people still cared about each other. Alex hesitated. That was the last I heard. Why? Angela, what's going on? Mendoza exhaled into the phone. Well, she said. Apparently he wound up on San Malvino. Alex straightened. He lives here? Lived, Mendoza corrected. Past tense. He was found an hour ago by his cleaning lady, in his office. Dead. There was a beat of silence. Alex's voice dropped. How? I'll fill you in when you get here, Mendoza said. Right now I need you because the whole office looks like a paper hurricane hit it. Notes everywhere. Journals, notebooks, scribbles, diagrams. None of it makes sense to me. And before I proceed with the investigation, I need someone trained in the field. I get it, Alex nodded. Give me the address. You know the Panorama office building that overlooks the sea from the cliffs? Wow, fancy, Alex said. I'm on my way. See you there. Alex pocketed her phone and nodded at Lucien. Finish your coffee. Your boss caught a murder again. Lucien tipped his head back and groaned. Oh, come on, not today. Perched on the cliffs above the turquoise bay, the Panorama office building looked less like an office complex and more like a boutique medical retreat designed for people who refused to sit in ordinary waiting rooms. Mendoza's cruiser was the only car in the parking lot. Did you call us before everyone else? Or did Elliot refuse to arrive at a crime scene before business hours again? Reg asked, getting out of the Jeep. Actually, the first person I called was the judge. Lucien stopped mid-step. Why would you call a judge instead of the coroner? Mendoza didn't answer. She just motioned them inside. Come on. They walked through the gleaming lobby that had tall glass vases with pink hydrangeas everywhere. When they reached the private waiting area, Mendoza nodded to the cleaning lady who was sitting in one of the chairs. I'll be with you in a few minutes, Ms. Santos, and creaked open the door. The office looked like a cyclone had torn through it. Papers covered the floor in a chaotic tide. Loose sheets, index cards, entire notebooks cracked open and splayed. At the center of it all was Dr. Jeremy Pike's lifeless body. This is why I called the judge. Lucien looked through the door, then back at Mendoza. I'm still kind of confused. These papers and notebooks likely contain confidential client information. Psychotherapist patient privilege is tightly protected by law, even on San Malvino. even after the therapist's death, Alex said. So Mendoza needs a court-appointed custodian who will collect all the evidence, read it, and provide her only with the information that's relevant to the case. Reg gestured at the ocean of paper. Therapist paperwork. A nightmare even on a good day. Basically, I'm not allowed to touch anything in that office, Mendoza said, until I get authorization for a custodian. Lucien opened his mouth, closed it, then gave up. Right, sure, that makes sense, I think. Would you be able to help me? Mendoza asked Alex. I know it's Valentine's Day and all. Sure, actually, I'm very curious to find out what Dr. Pike was working on, Alex said, though I wish it were under different circumstances. Just keep in mind that we have a reservation at 8, honey, Reg said to Alex. Otherwise, you too have fun. Great, Mendoza said, already dialing. Morning, Your Honor, it's Detective Mendoza again. Yes, regarding Dr. Jeremy Pike's case, I found a willing custodian to assist with the investigation. Yes, Dr. Romanoff, Officer Carter is sending the details right now. She shot a look at Lucien, who opened his laptop and started typing rapidly. Do I have authorization to proceed? Understood. Thank you, Your Honor. Mendoza hung up and dialed again. Crane? It's Mendoza. I've got a body for you. Yes, I'm aware that it's early. She rolled her eyes. I am also aware it's Valentine's Day. Just get here as soon as you can. Who celebrates Valentine's Day with an early breakfast? She asked after hanging up. People with 4 kids and a dog, I guess. Reg grinned. Let's get all this mess into evidence bags before he rolls over it with his gurney, she sighed. Lucien, dig into Dr. Pike's life and get uniforms here. On it, boss. They stepped inside the office. An ornate silver letter opener was sticking out of Dr. Pike's chest. Well, if someone wanted to stay on theme for Valentine's Day with their murder, Reg pointed at the chest, that's pretty spot on. Alex shot him a look. What? Too early? Someone had to say it anyway. Lucien crouched a little, examining Pike's expression. Can a therapist really piss off a client enough to make them kill him? Alex raised an eyebrow at him. I once got so worked up by my therapist, Reg said with a mischievous grin, that I ended up proposing to her. Alex shook her head with a smile. That's not how it happened. How did you propose? Lucien asked. We do not have time for romantic stories right now, Lucien, Mendoza cut in. Get to work while I talk to Ms. Santos. We'll tell you the story later, Reg said, picking up a loose A4 covered in scribbles from both sides and handing it to Alex. Right now, let's see who killed Dr. Pike. Chapter 3. Ms. Santos sat exactly where they'd left her, at the edge of the seat in the waiting area, clutching the keycard in her gloved hands. Mendoza sat next to her. Ms. Santos, thank you for waiting. I know this morning was difficult. The woman nodded, lips pressed together. I thought he was asleep, she said, and then I saw the knife. Will you be able to answer some questions? Yes, but I don't know much. That's all right, Mendoza said gently. Just tell us what you do know. Ms. Santos swallowed and clutched her bag a little tighter. I work for the building, she said. Not just for him. I clean all the offices on this floor. Every day, 6 to 8 in the morning, Monday through Saturday. She glanced toward the office again. This one is usually the easiest. Mendoza kept her voice neutral. Easiest how? He was organized, Ms. Santos said. Everything in its place. Papers in stacks, books in lines. He didn't leave cups or dishes. The trash was always empty. Some offices, she grimaced. You know, they leave things everywhere. Food, coffee cups. I clean up. But Mr. Pike, he was different. Very clean. Meticulous, Mendoza murmured. Yes, the woman nodded. I never saw so much as a pen on the floor. That changed this morning, Mendoza said. A tremor ran across Ms. Santos's mouth. Yes, very much. Can you tell us exactly what you saw? I came in like always, she said. 6 o'clock. I cleaned the bathrooms first, then the hallway. Everything was normal. The lights were on. The receptionists weren't there yet. They start at 8. She paused. Mr. Pike's office door was half open. Usually it's always locked. I have to use my key card. She motioned with the piece of plastic in her hand. Could it be that he had a patient earlier? Mendoza asked. No, Miss Santos said confidently. The main doors are locked till 8 in the morning. We come from a back entrance that has a punch code. This is a very high-end building. It's supposed to be safe. Her breath hitched. Did you hear anything unusual before you went inside? Mendoza asked. No, nothing. What happened when you went inside? Miss Santos squeezed her eyes shut for a second. I saw his feet first, on the floor, the soles of his shoes, and the papers scattered around. At first I thought, maybe he was reading something and fell asleep, or fainted. I called his name. No answer. She swallowed. I pushed the door more, and then I saw... She pressed her hand to her forehead briefly. I didn't go inside. I ran to the lobby, called security. I told them to call the police. Mendoza nodded once. You did the right thing. The woman's gaze dropped. I don't know what happened to him. He was always polite, quiet. Once a week he left a little envelope for me under his paperweight, always the same amount, and always with a note that said, "Thank you." She gave a tremulous half-smile. No one else thinks about leaving a tip. Mendoza cleared her throat softly. Did he ever have visitors early in the morning? I don't know, she said honestly. I usually leave around 8:30. Sometimes he comes after I leave. What about a personal assistant? Mendoza asked. Did he have one? Ms. Santos thought for a moment. There are the receptionists downstairs. They take calls for everyone. But for a personal assistant, I don't know. If he had one, they didn't come early. Mendoza stood. Thank you, Ms. Santos. You've been extremely helpful. I'll need your number in case we have follow-up questions. The woman nodded and dug out her phone with trembling hands. Lucien logged her information. You're free to go, Mendoza said gently. Security can call you a taxi if you want. I'll walk, she said quietly. I need air. Bombay rose and nudged her hand once before she walked away. She managed a shaky smile at him. They watched her disappear down the hall. When she was out of earshot, Reg exhaled. Poor woman. Mendoza tucked her notebook into her pocket. She saw more than she ever wanted to, but at least we know that this mess is out of the ordinary. Argument? Lucien offered. Maybe, Alex said. Why else would someone throw around papers? Reg nodded toward the closed office door. Well, we still don't know what we're walking into. Mendoza squared her shoulders. Elliot should be here any minute. Let's collect all the papers before the uniforms crowd the place. Great, Reg muttered. Just what I wanted for Valentine's morning. This looks like someone was furious. Or desperate, Alex said, taking in the scene one more time. Mendoza stepped around a fallen stack of notes. Or he made the mess himself. What if he panicked? Reg towed a sheet near his foot carefully without disturbing its position, so either he got into a fight or he was trying to find something. Alex crouched by a cluster of papers. Before Elliot and the uniforms get here, I should start collecting the documents that look like client notes. She looked up at Mendoza. Do I need evidence bags for these? No, Mendoza said. You're operating under custodian authority. Just keep everything you gather separate until we log it. Maybe sort it somehow so it makes sense to an untrained eye later. Sorting I can do. Alex pulled on a pair of gloves and began lifting papers one at a time, grouping them into small piles based on handwriting style or whether they looked like session summaries, diagrams, or personal notes. Bombay sniffed at a notebook, then sat beside it as though guarding that exact page. Reg walked around the perimeter. No signs of forced entry. Door wasn't locked, per Ms. Santos, Lucien said. Besides, those kinds of building always have pretty nifty security systems that will start a silent alarm and call the police, or even private security if there's a breach. Which means either he trusted whoever came in, Mendoza said, or he didn't get a chance to react. I'll go with the argument theory, Reg said. From what I can see, the letter opener was a set with the paperweight. He motioned to the table. Besides, if someone came here intending to kill him, wouldn't they bring a more reliable murder weapon? Makes sense, Mendoza said, comparing the ornaments on the paperweight to the letter opener's handle. Alex paused over 2 sheets of paper with tightly packed handwriting. These are notes from multiple clients. I'll need time to untangle what's relevant and what's just therapy. This is punishment for all the times you listened to a patient with your signature poker face and then scribbled obsessively. Reg smirked. Do you know how many sleepless nights I spent wondering what you wrote about me? Were my therapy notes the only reason for your sleepless nights? Alex looked at him amused. I plead the fifth, Reg said, looking away and smiling. Love is in the air, Mendoza groaned and rolled her eyes. Dr. Elliot Crane stood in the doorway, looking utterly disappointed. Never took you for a romantic, Elliot, Mendoza said. Why do you think I have 4 kids? He walked past everyone without paying attention to the mildly surprised looks. Letter opener to the chest. At least it's on theme. See, I told you, Reg hissed into Alex's ear. Crane crouched beside Pike's body and checked for temperature and lividity. Time of death? Mendoza asked. Between 9 last night and 2 in the morning, he said. The AC vents are running, so the temperature isn't perfect for estimate. We'll tell you more after I get him on my table. Lucien studied the wound. Never thought a letter opener could be sharp enough to actually kill. Elliot tapped the handle lightly with a gloved fingertip. To stab someone like this, even with a knife, takes more force than you think. Either it was someone very strong or very angry. No defensive wounds, Elliot said, looking at Pike's arms. He was blindsided. Mendoza crossed her arms. Anything else? Cause of death is exactly what it looks like, Elliot said. Penetrating trauma straight to the heart. The rest will be in my report. He patted Bombay on his way out and went for the gurney. Bombay trotted closer to Alex, who was kneeling near the rolling chair. Something under it had caught her eye. Found something, she said. Reg moved to her side. Planner? Alex slid out a leather-bound book, its corner bent sharply. His appointment book. Mendoza leaned in. Finally, something concrete. Chapter 4. Okay, Alex said, tapping a page with the tip of her gloved finger. Here's yesterday. The schedule was handwritten. 4 p.m., Mr. and Mrs. Flamingo. 6 p.m., M and R Royston. 8 p.m., T and L Thompson. Then, without allotted time, J. Reg squinted. Flamingo. Alex nodded. Flamingo? That's definitely fake. They all looked at Mendoza. She lifted a brow. I mean, it's not the worst alias I've seen. Alex flipped the planner toward her. Okay, M and R Royston. That's the power couple who own the Calyx Eco Lodge and Wellness Retreat. Very colorful couple. Lucien typed on his laptop. They've been on the island for more than 20 years. Nothing interesting, except a few noise complaints from equally fancy neighbors. Alex turned the page slightly. Next, the Thompsons. What do we know about them? Lucien typed quickly. British expats. Nothing interesting either. Mendoza folded her arms, thinking. Okay, we need to find out who the Flamingos are. Alex pointed. And then this. She turned the planner back toward herself and tapped the bottom of the page. A lone letter J, written smaller than the rest. Do you think it's another client? Mendoza asked. Could be a client, Alex said. Or a note he started writing, or just Pike initialing something for himself. Lucien frowned. So either the J was a person, or he got interrupted before he wrote more. I guess, Alex said. Okay. Mendoza rubbed her forehead. 2 real couples, 1 fake name, and a mysterious J. Anything in the notes you collected that links to these? Alex shook her head. Too early. I haven't read anything yet, just sorted them. Most of the scattered papers were active session notes. I'll need to look into them carefully. But the schedule at least gives us the skeleton of yesterday. Fine, Mendoza said, looking at her watch. Let's see who these flamingos really are. It's past 8. The reception should already be open. Tall vases of long-stemmed pink roses flanked the reception desk. Heart-shaped pink and red macarons sat under a glass dome beside a stack of polished marble coasters. A discreet instrumental version of La Vie en Rose floated through invisible speakers. Bombay trotted forward, nose lifted toward the faint smell of pastry. Behind the desk stood two receptionists in matching pastel blouses, both of whom straightened so sharply when they saw the badge that Reg almost saluted out of reflex. One had a sleek bun, the other loose curls. They exchanged one quick oh-no glance before plastering on bright professional smiles. "Good morning," the one with a bun said a little too loudly. "Happy Valentine's Day," the curly one said, and instantly regretted it. Mendoza stepped forward. "Detective Mendoza, we need information on the appointments for Dr. Jeremy Pike yesterday." Both women froze, then leaned in with synchronized interest bordering on glee. "We heard there were police upstairs. We saw the coroner's van leaving." "There was an incident," Mendoza said, keeping her tone clipped. "We're not answering questions, we're here to ask them." The two receptionists nodded so hard it looked like their heads might fall off. Alex stepped beside Mendoza. "We're looking for the clients listed under these names." She slid the planner forward. "Mr. and Mrs. Flamingo." The reaction was instantaneous. "Oh my God," the one with a bun whispered. "They're back." The curly one nodded vigorously. "They had to be. I told you." Mendoza pinched the bridge of her nose. "Let's try again. Who are the Flamingos?" The one with the bun looked like she might faint from the pressure of containing celebrity secrets. "Those aren't real flamingos." The curly jumped in. "They never sign in at the desk. Ever. They always call Dr. Pike directly and use the side entrance, but we managed to see them a couple of times." Alex exchanged a look with Reg. Mendoza sighed in exasperation. "Who are they?" The curly one leaned closer. "It's Andres Vega and his wife." Reg blinked. "The soccer legend? You know him?" "He's globally famous," Lucien said. "Everyone knows him." Mendoza straightened. "You're sure that's him?" The one with a bun nodded. "They fly in almost every month. Private jet, private security. They always wear hats inside like no one will recognize them." "We know because their security guys cover all exits," Curly One added, "and they always arrive in red SUVs. The one with a bun leaned forward, glowing. "I was the first one who realized it was them. I'm a huge fan. He did that documentary about building a youth academy in Brazil. I watched it twice. I recognized his walk. Also the tattoos. You can't hide those." Mendoza folded her arms, the beginnings of a headache forming. "Did you see them come in yesterday?" Both shook their heads quickly. "No," Curly One said, "but that doesn't mean they weren't here. They always come through the VIP entrance, straight to the private hallway." "They prefer not to be seen," the one with a bun added, "especially when things are, you know." She wobbled her hand. "Rocky." Alex blinked. "His marriage is rocky?" "He cheated on her," Curly One whispered. "It's everywhere on celebrity blind item sites." "Lovely," Reg muttered. "I'll check airport logs." Lucien already had his phone out. "They might still be here." Mendoza sighed. "Fantastic! Now I'm chasing a global sports celebrity on Valentine's Day." "Isn't it exciting?" the curly one asked. Mendoza rolled her eyes. "Did anything unusual happen yesterday? Any loud voices? Anyone unfamiliar coming through?" Both shook their heads. Mendoza pushed the planner back into Alex's hands. "All right, thank you. If you remember anything relevant, call us immediately." Both receptionists nodded earnestly, then leaned into each other the second the group stepped away. Reg whispered to Alex, "You know they're going to tell every friend they have that they are assisting police with a celebrity investigation." Mendoza didn't even break stride. "I can always arrest them for obstruction of justice." Alex stifled a laugh. Bombay trotted ahead toward the front doors. Lucien fell into step beside Mendoza. "I'll run Vega's travel data. If he's still in the country, we'll know." "Do it fast," Mendoza said. I don't care how famous he is. If he had an appointment with a murdered couple's therapist, he goes on the list. Reg patted his pockets. Do you think Vega's security will let us talk to him without signing 100 NDAs? Not a chance. Chapter 5. Lucien had just finished arguing with Port Authority Aviation and joined Alex, Reg, and Mendoza near the cruiser. Bombay was already sound asleep in Reggie's Jeep. So, are they still on the island? Mendoza asked as Lucien hung up. Vega's private jet landed yesterday morning and is still here, he said, but they already filed a flight plan to Paris. They're scheduled to take off in about, he looked at his watch, 50 minutes. All right. Call Port Authority again and tell them I need that flight stalled for police questioning, and make sure they understand this is an active homicide investigation. Lucien nodded and dialed again. Mendoza turned to Alex. Grab whatever you still need. We're leaving. Alex grabbed the stack of notes from the Jeep. Ready. Lucien jogged toward them as they buckled in. Port Authority will delay the flight for at least an hour. They'll hold them in the lounge until you get there. Good. Mendoza started the engine. You take Bombay and Reg's Jeep back to compound. 4 people and a dog is a crowd. Got it. The cruiser pulled away from the Panorama parking lot and sped toward the highway. Morning light spilled across the cliffs, catching the water below in bright streaks of turquoise. Valentine's banners flapped lazily on lampposts. While Mendoza drove, Alex kept going through Pike's notes. Shared irritant, test unity, she read under her breath. Mutual frustration as a bonding mechanism. Evaluate emotional cohesion. Reg glanced back. Translate? I'm not sure yet. She flipped to another page. These aren't session notes the way I'd write them, or the way any therapist I know would write them. Mendoza checked the rear view. So, not standard practice? No. Alex leaned closer to a page, tracing a diagram with her finger. He keeps repeating the idea of an external adversary, something outside the relationship that couples should focus on, work against. Together. She frowned. It feels backwards, or forced. Mendoza slowed for a turn. Does it tell us anything about the flamingos? I mean Vegas. Alex shook her head. No names, just outlines, and a lot of theory. It's not making sense yet, but I don't love what I'm seeing. Well, for what it's worth, Reg let out a quiet breath. Talking about an external adversary doesn't sound like the guy who leaves weekly thank you tip for his cleaning lady. No, Alex said softly, it doesn't. The cruiser turned onto the main road leading toward the airport. Mendoza's phone rang through the car's Bluetooth. Shannon. Reg muttered, This can't be good. Mendoza pressed the call button. Go ahead. Tell me it's true, Shannon said without preamble. Tell me you're really about to interrogate Andres Vega. Mendoza kept her tone steady. Who told you that? Lucien texted me the second you left the building. A pause. Well, he texted OMG, guess who they're interviewing, and then 3 football emojis. Reg smirked. Shannon barreled on. Listen, Angela, if you're talking to the Vega, you should know he had that massive cheating scandal last year. Huge. Everywhere. TikTok, tabloids, morning shows, you name it. His PR team tried to spin it, but the footage was unavoidable. Reg looked at Alex. Footage was unavoidable, means caught on camera with his pants down. Alex rolled her eyes. Shannon kept going. Everyone thought his wife was going to leave him. People were already drafting think pieces. And then suddenly, poof, they were reconciled. Overnight. Like magic. Mendoza tightened her grip on the wheel. Pike helped them. My thoughts exactly. Alex looked up from the papers. If that's true, he'd have been deeply involved in their dynamic. That kind of betrayal is not easy to mend. Reg snorted. No amount of therapy saves you after being caught on video. Anyway, Shannon said, just prepare yourself. They have fans, rabid fans, and they're very, very private. We're aware, Mendoza said. I'll call you later. She hung up. The cruiser turned toward the private terminal access road. They pulled into the VIP parking area. 2 airport operations officers stood under the shade of a palm awning, talking quietly beside an access gate. A sleek white jet with blue striping was idling on the far end of the tarmac, crew preparing luggage carts. "All right, let's go meet the flamingos before they migrate," Reg said. Mendoza put the cruiser in park. "Please don't say that to their faces." The VIP lounge smelled of expensive perfume and pastries straight out of the oven. A pair of reception attendants straightened as they walked in, both immediately clocking the badge on Mendoza's belt. "Port Authority?" one asked. "Detective Angela Mendoza," she said. "San Malvino Police. We need access to the VIP lounge, Vega Party." The attendants exchanged a look, equal parts excitement and panic, then one hurried to swipe a keycard at the frosted door. Inside, the VIP lounge looked like it had been designed by someone who believed even rich people deserved to be slightly uncomfortable. Everything was white, cream, or pale gold, chairs too stiff, tables too shiny. A heart-shaped floral installation of red roses dominated the far wall, courtesy of the terminal's attempt at seasonal charm. 2 bodyguards stood near the window where the tarmac was visible, in matching black polo shirts. Between them sat Andres and Mariana Vega, both wearing sunglasses. Mariana was scrolling her phone with one manicured hand, the other loosely holding her husband's arm. Andres looked out the window with the melancholic expression of a man who believed sunlight existed primarily to highlight his jawline. Both looked up as the group approached. Mendoza stopped a few feet away. "Mr. Vega, Mrs. Vega, Detective Mendoza, San Malvino Police, thank you for your patience. We just need a few minutes." Andres removed his sunglasses slowly. "Detective," he said in a smooth baritone, "we were told there was an accident?" "Yes," Mendoza said. "It's regarding Dr. Jeremy Pike." Mariana's hand froze mid-scroll. "Dr. Pike? Did something happen to him?" "He died last night," Mendoza said. "We're treating it as a homicide." Mariana let out a tiny gasp and pressed a hand to her mouth. Andres stiffened. "No," Mariana whispered. "He can't be. We saw him yesterday." "We flew in just for the session," Andres said, still looking shocked. "Dr. Pike said we'd made more progress in 1 month than some couples make in a decade." Mariana nodded. "He understood us. Better than anyone ever has." Mendoza retrieved her notebook. "Can you walk me through that? Your session yesterday?" Mariana swallowed. "We met him at 4, sharp. He never ran late. He always greeted us personally at the door." She paused, her voice wobbling unexpectedly. "Everything went as usual. We talked about the progress we made using his model." Mendoza kept her tone neutral. "Could you clarify?" Andres leaned forward slightly. "Dr. Pike had this method, his model. He said couples are strongest when they face a common enemy, if you will, something external, something or someone they can resist together." "So you're saying he encouraged you to—" "What? Pick fights?" Mendoza asked. No. Andres shook his head quickly. "He helped us find unity. We were falling apart after the scandal. The whole world was judging us, laughing at us, calling us a disaster. But Dr. Pike made us see that the real problem, the thing poisoning our marriage, wasn't between us." Mariana nodded vigorously. "Exactly. It was the woman who tried to trap Andres." Reg blinked. "The mistress." "No," Mariana said earnestly. "The woman who took advantage of him. That's how Dr. Pike explained it. Andres was vulnerable, lost. He said the only way forward was for us to focus on what hurt us both, the person who wanted to ruin our family." Alex shot Mendoza a sharp, brief look. Shared adversary. There it was. "And did that work for you?" Mendoza asked. "Beautifully," Mariana said, squeezing Andres's arm. "We're better than ever. We were so happy after our session yesterday that we booked a private dinner in Paris for Valentine's, a complete reset." A flicker of genuine grief went across Andres's face. "Dr. Pike was a genius. Truly, we owe him everything." Mendoza shifted her weight. "Did Dr. Pike ever share anything personal with you? About his life? His relationships?" Both Vegas shook their heads immediately. "He was very private," Mariana said. "He always redirected if we asked. He said his work was purely about us, never about him. He didn't even take photos with us, Andres added, said it violated the spirit of the therapy. Usually people ask for a photo. Reg coughed lightly. The spirit of therapy. Andres didn't seem to notice. He said romantic trust grows when there are no distractions, no external noise, just two people seeing the world clearly, together. That's one way to phrase it, Alex murmured. Mariana's eyes shone with emotion. We just can't believe he's gone. Who are we supposed to see now? There's no one like him. No one, Andres echoed. He changed us. Mendoza closed her notebook. Thank you. Your statements help clarify the timeline. You're free to board once Port Authority clears your flight. The Vegas exhaled with relief and stood, bodyguards moving with them in a coordinated cloud of cologne. As they walked toward the private exit, Mariana paused. Detective? Yes? If you find whoever did this, I hope you make them understand how much they took from people. Mendoza nodded. We'll do everything we can. The Vegas left the lounge, bodyguards sweeping them ahead. The moment the door shut, Reg let out a small laugh. Well, he said, that was something. They parroted Pike's theory almost word for word. Alex said. Mendoza nodded. And neither of them has the slightest clue about his personal life. And neither of them seems remotely violent, Reg added. Alex gave him a look. Reg, we've met many nonviolent people who kill. True, he said, but these two? They seem to really care about Pike. Mendoza nodded toward the exit. Let's head back. Alex, I want you knee-deep in those notes. Pike was doing something unusual, and whatever it was, someone didn't appreciate being part of it. Believe me, neither do I. Chapter 6. The cruiser had barely merged back onto the coastal road when Mendoza's phone buzzed. She glanced down at the lock screen. 3 messages from Lucien, each one a pinned location. Addresses came through, she said, passing the phone to Reg so she wouldn't have to scroll while driving. 2 more couples who saw Pike yesterday. Let's start with the Eco Lodge people. Reg tapped the screen. They're 10 minutes inland. What's an Eco Lodge anyway? Mendoza asked. Wooden huts? Tents? No plumbing? More like solar-powered villas, rainforest showers and hammocks that cost more than my car, Reg said. Mendoza kept her eyes on the road. Let's hope they'll give us something useful. The Vegas were very enthusiastic, but not particularly informative. I'm still kind of surprised that they repeated Pike's theory word for word, Alex said. Patients normally don't really care what model you're using. They come for results. Reg rubbed his jaw. Still bizarre that anyone would seek out therapy that tells them to team up and bully someone. It's not bullying, Alex corrected. It's redirecting. And very manipulatively framed. In trained hands, it might temporarily stabilize a couple, but if someone feels used, we get a body on Valentine's Day. Mendoza finished for her. The cruiser turned onto a winding, tree-lined road leading through a lush pocket of the island most tourists never saw, where the wealthiest residents tucked their curated slices of rustic paradise. At the end of the lane, an arched wooden sign read, Calyx Eco Lodge and Wellness Retreat. Reg muttered, brace yourselves for sandalwood-scented everything. He wasn't wrong. The reception pavilion sat under a high palm-thatched roof, open to the breeze, with a long counter carved from a single piece of polished driftwood. A staff member in linen pants and a coral tunic greeted them with a soft, airy namaste. We're here to speak with... Mendoza checked her phone. The Roystons. The staffer nodded. Of course. They're in the garden pavilion, right this way. They were led along a stone path edged with native plants and tiny placards naming each species, as if this were an educational hike rather than a resort walkway. The garden pavilion overlooked a koi pond, where 2 people in bright tunics sat at a low table, files spread between them. I'm Robert Royston. The man stood up as the group approached. This is my wife, Margot. Is this about Dr. Pike? We heard the news. Mendoza nodded. I'm afraid so. I'm Detective Mendoza. Thank you for agreeing to meet with us. Margot's eyes softened. It's terrible. He helped us a great deal. Robert gestured for them to sit. Mendoza opened her notebook. We understand you had a session with Dr. Pike yesterday. Margot nodded, folding her hands in her lap. Yes, at 6 o'clock. We were there for, an hour, maybe a little more. And how did it go? Mendoza asked. Robert exchanged a quick look with his wife. Surprisingly well, he said. We've been clashing over business for years. Margot and I co-founded Calyx, and when you're married and run a company together, your disagreements start to look the same as your marriage issues. Margot gave a rueful smile. He thinks every creative decision is a budget risk. I think every budget risk is an underestimation of our brand's potential. You can see the cycle, Robert said. How did Dr. Pike help you? Mendoza prompted. He reframed everything, Margot said. Brilliantly, actually. He told us that the tension between us wasn't the real issue. The real problem was the investor our board had been courting, the one pushing us to expand too quickly. Robert nodded. He said couples often misidentify the source of their frustration, that we weren't upset with each other, we were united in our irritation with someone who didn't respect our vision. Reg raised a brow. And that worked? To our shock, yes, Margot said. We found ourselves laughing about it afterward. No amount of meditation and mindfulness practices ever gave us the same result. Alex listened quietly. Mendoza made a note. Did Dr. Pike ever share anything personal? Mention family? A partner? Anyone close? Both Roystons shook their heads. He was very contained, Margot said, focused entirely on us. Did anything seem unusual yesterday? Mendoza asked. His behavior, his office, anything out of place? Not at all, Robert said. Everything was pristine, as always. He kept his workspace immaculate. Even the waiting area looked like someone polished it between appointments. Margot nodded firmly. There wasn't a paper out of place. Alex and Reg exchanged a brief look. Mendoza closed her notebook. One more question. When you left, did you see anyone else waiting? Anyone arriving after your session? Margot frowned in thought. No, the waiting area was empty. Entirely empty, Robert confirmed. We walked out the front. No one else was there. Only the receptionists. Mendoza stood. Thank you both. You've been very helpful. And I'm sorry again for the circumstances. As they walked back, Mendoza checked her phone again. Second couple is 15 minutes south. Let's move. The south road dipped toward the water, curving past palm groves and a row of pastel seaside cottages. Mendoza slowed as they approached a cobalt-blue house with seashell wind chimes tinkling in the breeze. A hand-painted sign above the door read, The Thompsons, mind the step, mind the cat, mind yourselves. Reg squinted at it. British, he said. Alex nodded. Oh yes, deeply. A man in his 60s, tan and wiry, sat on the porch in a deck chair, reading a newspaper through the thick glasses. Beside him, a woman of the same age was knitting what appeared to be a scarf for a giraffe. They both looked up as the cruiser pulled in. "Oh, Detective Mendoza!" the woman called out before Mendoza even introduced herself. "We saw the news helicopters by the cliffs. Are you working this awful business with Dr. Pike?" Mendoza blinked. "Mrs. Thompson? You already know?" "Everyone knows," Mr. Thompson said, folding the newspaper dramatically. "The island WhatsApp groups works faster than the Associated Press." Mendoza gave a resigned nod. "Then I assume you understand why we're here." "Of course," Mrs. Thompson said. Come in. We'll sit on the porch. The breeze is better out here." The porch had mismatched chairs, a small table with half-drunk mugs of tea, and a fat orange cat sprawled across a cushion like a judgmental loaf. Mendoza opened her notebook. "We understand you and your husband saw Dr. Pike yesterday." "Oh, yes," Mrs. Thompson said, tugging at her yarn. "Lovely man. Quite strange. Very helpful." Mr. Thompson snorted, helpful being a generous word. "Oh, hush," she said. "He saved our marriage." "You've said that about 3 people," he replied. Yes, and 2 of them were bartenders, she shot back. Reg bit the inside of his cheek to keep from laughing. Mendoza tried to keep them on track. Can you walk us through your session yesterday? Mrs. Thompson gave an enthusiastic nod. Well, we fight. A lot. We've been married 40 years. At some point, it becomes a hobby. Lifestyle, really, Mr. Thompson corrected. So, Dr. Pike listened to us bicker about towels and noise and whether sand belongs inside a home, and then he said, she paused for effect, that our real problem lives upstairs. Upstairs neighbor, Reg guessed. Oh yes, a nightmare. He stomps around doing Zumba or Tai Chi or some kind of martial arts dance hybrid every night at precisely 11. Mr. Thompson held up his hands like scales. Worse than jet engines. Worse than marching bands. Mrs. Thompson leaned in conspiratorially. We were turning on each other, but Dr. Pike reframed it. He said we needed to unify, find a common cause, channel our annoyance at something external. The neighbor, Alex said softly. Exactly, Mrs. Thompson said. Once we had a villain, we stopped arguing with each other. We've never been closer. Mr. Thompson nodded. We even confronted the neighbor, politely, left a note, printed, so he wouldn't judge our handwriting. Reg grinned. And it worked? Oh, undeniably, Mrs. Thompson said. We've been floating on marital bliss ever since. We even slept through the Zumba last couple of weeks. Pike's model seems consistent, Alex murmured. Mendoza tapped the pen against her notebook. Let me ask, did you notice anything unusual about him yesterday? His mood? His office? Mrs. Thompson shook her head. He seemed perfectly normal. Focused. Serious, but he always was. His office was tidy, not a pen out of place. Mr. Thompson sipped his tea. I think he had another couple after us. Mendoza looked up. What makes you say that? There was a woman sitting in the waiting area when we left. Can you describe her? Mrs. Thompson tapped her forehead. Dark hair, neat bun, simple clothes. I think she had a thick folder on her lap, or maybe it was a bag. Was there anyone else? Mendoza asked. No, she was alone. I assumed she was waiting for her husband. Dr. Pike didn't take single clients, as far as I know. Alex exchanged a glance with Mendoza. Mendoza closed her notebook. You've been extremely helpful. If you remember anything else, please call me. Mrs. Thompson nodded eagerly. Of course, and do catch whoever did this. He was a strange man, but he didn't deserve, well, whatever happened. No one does, Mendoza said. Mr. Thompson lifted his mug in a solemn toast. Good luck, Detective. Chapter 7. By the time Alex finished unloading Pike's notes on the porch table and set out fresh water for Bombay, the porch was already filling with people and food. Shannon had gone fully overboard. This is all your fault, she announced the second she stepped to the porch, pointing a serving fork at Gary. You and your ridiculous Valentine's takeout idea. It got stuck in my head. Gary, who was carrying a large foil container that smelled like fried chicken and maple syrup at the same time, smiled at her. You're welcome. Polly flapped above his head. All-you-can-eat chaos. Shannon began unloading her own items. Empanadas, pink rice cakes, red velvet cupcakes, something with strawberries cut into hearts, and 2 pitchers of lemonade tinted a very enthusiastic shade of pink. There was even a large bowl of pasta salad sprinkled with tiny, edible red hearts. She set everything down with an air of accomplishment. Rafa looked at the spread and blinked. Nobody can eat this much. We're going to try, Shannon said, already passing out plates. Lucien sighed from his chair. This was supposed to be a romantic day, he muttered. Instead, I'm eating pink carbohydrates for lunch with a homicide board forming in my head. Shannon ruffled his hair. It's still romantic, babe. There's food, there's ambiance, there's your boss. Mendoza rolled her eyes. Just pass me the salad. Bombay flopped under the table, claiming all future crumbs. So, how's the investigation going? Rafa asked, pouring himself a glass of lemonade. Surprisingly boring, Reg said, though we did meet Andres Vega. No way, man. The guy has crazy stats for several years now. He's one of my most favorite players. Yeah, I thought he's pretty cool too until I found out he's a cheater, Reg sighed. That's the weird thing with celebrities, Shannon said. At first you admire them for what they do, then you want to know them more as a person, then you find something creepy about their personal life, and poof, the admiration is gone, like the skill you admired them for in the first place doesn't even matter. That's why I prefer historical figures, Rafa said with a laugh. Most of them are long dead and can't harm anyone. Have you seen all the books he has? Gary said with a pride. I'll need at least 3 extra lifetimes to catch up. Seen them, drove them around the island, carried them from place to place, Reg said with a judgmental look on his face. Get a Kindle, man. Speaking of dead men, what did you find about Dr. Pike's personal life? Mendoza asked Lucian. 54 years of age, U.S. citizen, lived in Australia, then on Bali, then in Brazil, then wound up on San Malvino. Never been married, no next of kin, one estranged brother, Lucian said, scrolling through his notes. I already contacted him. Can't say he was too eager to drop everything and come make arrangements for his brother? I wonder why, Reg asked. He asked me twice if I'm sure Pike did not have a girlfriend who'll take care of everything, Lucien said. Said his brother was quite the womanizer. That's it. The girlfriend killed him, Gary announced. Murderous love, Polly screeched from his shoulder. Calm down, you two, Mendoza said. We don't even know if he had one. Let's see, Shannon said, picking up her phone with sticky fingers. His website is very boring. Bland colors, no photos, no biography, no blog posts. The About page says something like, committed to helping couples find clarity, which could be written by anyone. No list of degrees, no career timeline. Mendoza nodded. He left academia 10 years ago. That fits. No social media accounts, Shannon continued. No Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, nothing, not even Facebook. I found someone with his name in Minnesota who posts photos of barbecue, but that's absolutely not him. So no digital footprint, Lucien summarized. No, Shannon said, and all his reviews online look like they were written by clients directly referring friends. No marketing, no ads, no interviews. Word of mouth is the best advertisement, Reg said. Rafa took a bite of a red velvet cookie. So let me get this straight. Pike spends last decade building this weird relationship model, tells couples to unite against someone, everyone loves him for it, then someone kills him. That is the situation, yes, Mendoza said. So, obviously the killer is the enemy he told someone to unite against, Gary concluded. Like maybe he told the Eco-Lodge couple their investor was the problem, and the investor found out. Shannon rolled her eyes. Gary, come on. What? The rich dude could have hired a professional killer, Gary said. That actually happens more often than you'd think, Reg said. Only killers for hire don't usually use letter openers and don't leave a mess. Alex sat deep in thought, going through Pike's notes, completely ignoring the food and the conversation. Did you find something interesting? Mendoza asked. I'm not sure, Alex said, dividing the notes in 2 piles. There are copies of the identical text handwritten and typed. Mendoza frowned. Maybe he used a transcription service? Could be, Alex said. But a transcriptionist would reproduce the exact phrasing and punctuation. These are copy-edited, if you will. Maybe he hired someone fancy, Reg said. Fancy transcriptionists just type very fast and read all kind of bad handwriting. They don't bother with Oxford commas and em-dashes. It's not their thing. You think he had an assistant? I think he did, Alex said. Those transcriptions look very consistent. Reg picked up an empanada. Thompson said they saw a woman waiting outside his office yesterday, folder in hand. That could be her. It could be, Mendoza set her fork down. I bet the Gossip Girls from Panorama Building know who she is. Let's go ask them. Mind if I stay and join the Valentine's marathon for a while? Reg asked. Alex is more than enough. Chapter 8. Both receptionists jumped up from their places the moment Mendoza and Alex walked in. You're back, the curly one said. Did you need something else? Yes, Mendoza said. "We talked to one of Dr. Pike's clients from last night. They mentioned seeing a woman in the waiting area. Do you know who that was?" "Oh, that's probably Clara Tadeo. She's not a client. She's Dr. Pike's assistant. Sort of. She types things for him." "Types things?" Mendoza repeated, deadpan. "Well, we assume," the one with the bun said, flipping through yesterday's visitor log. "She doesn't arrange his sessions or stick round, but she always brings a paper folder. You know, those thick leather ones. Her name's been on the visitor list for a couple of months now." Alex stepped closer, tapping the edge of the reception desk. "So she's a regular presence?" "Oh, yes. Evening times, mostly." The receptionist held out the tablet. "Here, she came in last night at 9:03 p.m. Mendoza leaned in without touching the screen. "And she left at?" Mendoza asked. 9:43, the receptionist said, "right on the same camera." She tapped again. Clara appeared in reverse, walking out, folder at hand, same steady pace, her hair tucked behind her ear. "She didn't look upset," Alex murmured. "No," the receptionist said. "Honestly, she always looks kind of serene, like someone who does a lot of yoga." "Lucky her," Mendoza said. She straightened. "Was she the last visitor?" The receptionists exchanged another hesitant look. "Maybe," the curly one said, "but we can't confirm." "Why not?" Mendoza asked. The second receptionist pointed toward a frosted glass corridor branching left. "There's a private side entrance down that hall. No cameras." Mendoza blinked. "No cameras?" The receptionist nodded, already wincing at the look on Mendoza's face. "It's for privacy. You know, certain clients appreciate discretion." "Certain clients?" Alex asked, eyebrows up. "High-profile ones, like the Vegas," the receptionist whispered, "and also the plastic surgery clinics upstairs. People don't want to be caught on camera with bandages and bruises. We get a lot of healing faces around here." Alex huffed a small laugh. "Makes sense. Nothing says discretion like avoiding paparazzi with fresh stitches." The receptionist looked relieved she hadn't offended anyone. "So, yes, someone could have come through that entrance after Clara left, and we'd never know. There's keycard access, but Dr. Pike had a master pass. Most of the doctors do." "So the last person you saw was Clara," Mendoza said. "But that doesn't mean she was the last person inside." "It. Right." Mendoza rubbed her temple. "Okay. I'll need her address if you have on file." The receptionist pulled up the information. "Here it is." Mendoza took out her notebook and jotted down the details. "Anything else you can tell me about her?" "She's kind of unremarkable," the receptionist said helplessly. "Never caused a problem. Honestly, we didn't even notice her really until Dr. Pike asked to put her on file as a permanent visitor." "Okay," Mendoza said, snapping her notebook shut. "Thank you. You might hear from us again." Both receptionists nodded in unison. Clara Tadeo's office was in a small second-floor walk-up over a bakery. Mendoza parked in the shade of the building, and Alex took in the bright blue shutters and potted herbs on the windowsill. "Translator or poet?" Alex murmured. "One of the two." Mendoza rang the bell. The door opened almost immediately. She was in her late 20s, maybe early 30s, dark curls pinned back loosely, soft linen dress. "Yes?" she said, warm but cautious. "Detective Mendoza," Angela said, showing her badge. "This is Alex Romanoff. We'd like to ask a few questions about Dr. Pike." Clara's expression softened. "Of course, please come in." The office was small but tidy, lined with bookshelves. Half of them held novels, the other half dictionaries and thick academic texts. A laptop sat open on a table beside a mug of cooling tea. Everything about the room felt peaceful, intentional. "You worked with Dr. Pike?" Alex asked gently as they settled in. Clara folded her hands in her lap. "Yes, I typed for him. He preferred handwriting, messy handwriting, but he needed digital documents for certain things, so he'd hire me occasionally." "Occasionally?" Mendoza asked. "Well, more often recently. He'd call or message when he had a section he wanted typed. Sometimes it was session notes, other times more theoretical writing." She offered a small, apologetic smile. He wasn't always clear which was which. Alex nodded. Handwritten pages can blur the categories. Clara exhaled softly. Exactly. Mendoza leaned forward. Let's talk about last night. What time did you arrive? A little after 9, Clara said. I had another job earlier in the day. I'm a freelance journalist, but that doesn't pay much in this day and age, so I went to Pike's office to drop off what I already typed out and pick up new notes. And what time did you leave? About 9:40, I think. I remember checking the clock because I needed to catch the last bus home. Did he mention any other appointments? Mendoza asked. Clara nodded. Yes. He said he had someone coming later, a 10 o'clock slot. He didn't say who, but that wasn't unusual. He didn't overshare. Was it a normal occurrence for him to take clients that late in the evening? I don't really know. Sometimes, maybe. Alex studied Clara's face. Did you notice anything strange last night? Not really, Clara said. Dr. Pike was his usual self, very focused. Did he make another appointment with you? Mendoza asked. No, Clara said. Usually I let him know when I'm done, and only then we arrange a meeting. Her voice dimmed slightly. I still can't believe he's gone. Alex softened her tone. We understand, and we appreciate you speaking with us today. Clara nodded, then tucked a loose curl behind her ear. Your earrings are lovely, Alex said, noticing small teardrop-shaped earrings covered in bright enamel. Clara looked surprised, then smiled. Oh, thank you. It was a gift. Very pretty, Alex said. Do you maybe know the address of the store? Yes, it's a small boutique right in the beginning of the marina. Thank you, Alex said. When they stood to leave, she walked them to the door. If you need anything else, Clara said, I'll be here. I want to help however I can. Mendoza gave a brief nod. We'll be in touch. Clara closed the door gently behind them. She seems nice, Mendoza said. She does. Alex looped her tote onto her shoulder. And I always tell Reg that I don't want gifts, but now I'm thinking maybe I should ask for a belated Valentine's present. Those earrings were beautiful. Just don't ask for a ring in front of Lucien, Mendoza said dryly. That might give him some weird ideas. Oh, come on, Alex laughed. They've been dating for less than a year. I'm sure he's not even thinking about proposing. We still don't know what his Valentine's surprise really is. Believe me, if Lucien decided to propose, half the island would know about it by now. Anyway, Mendoza said, unlocking the cruiser, Clara didn't raise any red flags. I don't think she had any reasons to kill him. No, Alex agreed. Nothing obvious. Mendoza slid behind the wheel, which leaves us with someone else coming after she left and using that side entrance. I'll look through Pike's planner one more time. Maybe there's something we missed. Chapter 9. Mendoza drove while Alex flipped through Pike's planner. The pages fluttered in the breeze from the AC. She flipped another page and tapped her finger on a little scribble at the bottom. This is what we missed. It was the letter J at the bottom of the page. Mendoza frowned. But what does it mean? That's the issue. I don't know, Alex said. She flipped back, then forward again, flipping pages until she found another. But here's the same thing. And here. A J for an appointment, no time written. And here? Just a J next to a note saying, follow up. So it wasn't just a random scribble, it was supposed to mean something. I think so. Could you look through his notes and see if he had clients whose last name started with J? Alex closed the planner and reached for Pike's notes. She flipped through a few notebooks, then pointed at a page. Here. Mendoza leaned closer. Giuliano? Giuliano, Alex confirmed. A couple named Giuliano. That's the only name I could find that starts with a J. Mendoza frowned. Are there any famous Giulianos on the island? I don't know, Alex said. There's Julian from the Golden Fig, but he's single and his last name is Ferraro. Mendoza grabbed her phone. Let's see what Lucien can pull up. She hit call and Lucien picked up on the second ring, sounding like he was still chewing something. Yes, boss? You're still having lunch? She asked. I was eating a muffin, Lucien said defensively. Operative word was. Valentine's makes me nervous. Mendoza gave Alex a look and sighed. I need info on a couple. Last name Giuliano. Apparently they saw Dr. Pike. Oh, Lucien said, swallowing audibly. I think I know who you mean. 1 second. She could hear him typing, something clattering, then a long breath. Yeah, Lorenzo and Camilla Giuliano, Italian couple, moved here 3 years ago. Opened a boutique winery on the northern side of the island, vintners or something. They do tastings, sell bottles to resorts. Mendoza raised her eyebrows. They grow grapes here? Alex laughed under her breath. Lucien continued, unaware. They brought in special irrigation systems and temperature-controlled greenhouses. The whole thing is very, expensive. Their Chardonnay is apparently great. Shannon drinks it. She says it tastes like summer in heels. I don't know what that means. Alex stifled a smile, imagining Shannon saying exactly that. Okay, Mendoza said. Send me their address and anything else you have. On it, Lucien said. They hung up. Mendoza gave Alex a look. A winery on San Malvino. Alex shrugged, fighting a grin. With enough money you can probably grow penguins out here. Oh, please, Mendoza snorted. Grapes? Grapes need seasons. And cold nights. We have none of that. Alex leaned back. People do strange things when they're rich and bored. Maybe they wanted a tropical vineyard aesthetic. That sounds illegal, Mendoza shot back. Rum is the drink of Caribbean. Alex shook her head, laughing. I'm curious to see what kind of people thought the world's most temperature-sensitive plant and a tropical island was a good idea. Same, Mendoza said. But first let's figure out if they were anywhere near Pike last night. The Giuliano Winery sat on a sloping hill overlooking the northern cliffs. Hearts were everywhere. Pink ribboned garlands wrapped around the fence posts, red lanterns dangled from pergolas, and a massive banner over the main tasting patio read, Amore in Rosato, a Giuliano Valentine. Love in Rosé, a Giuliano Valentine? Mendoza stopped the car and blinked. Subtle. Alex bit back a smile. Everyone is very enthusiastic about the Valentines. They were greeted before they reached the steps. Detective! A booming voice called, drenched in Italian vowels. Welcome, welcome, please. Come, come, don't stand in the sun. It will cook you like shrimp. A tall man with salt and pepper hair swept toward them in a linen shirt unbuttoned far too low for noon. Beside him, a woman in a flowing red dress waved dramatically, bracelets tinkling. I am Lorenzo Giuliano, the man declared, spreading his arms like a stage performer. And this is my wife, Camilla. You are here about the terrible news, see? Mendoza stepped forward. Yes, we have a few questions about your work with Dr. Pike. Camilla pressed a hand to her palm as if fainting by choice. Oh, poverino, such a tragedy. Come, we speak inside. The sun is too bright today. They ushered Mendoza and Alex into a tasting lounge that looked like the Cupid himself had exploded inside it. Heart-shaped coasters, pink fairy lights, a giant ice bucket filled with bottles of rosé wearing decorative bows. Camilla poured them each water in tall crystal glasses. We are devastated, she said, though it has been some time since we saw Dr. Pike. You stopped therapy? Alex asked gently. Lorenzo rolled his eyes fondly. Ah, yes, he helped us tremendously, but then, how do you say, he made us realize something important. That it was not one of us who caused all our problems, Camilla chimed in, tapping her nails on the table. Yes, Lorenzo said, snapping his fingers. Exactly this. He leaned forward confidentially. You see, Detective, when we came to this island, we thought our troubles were because of, marriage. Camilla nodded vigorously. But no, it was climate, always climate. Mendoza's eyebrows lifted. Climate. Yes. Camilla pointed toward the vines outside. San Malvino is hot, too hot. Our poor grapes died in this heat, but I love living on this beautiful island and Lorenzo loves making wine, so we were, at a stalemate. Dr. Pike, a brilliant man, he said, your enemy is not each other. It is the climate. And suddenly, poof, everything made sense. Alex hid a smile behind her water glass. And after that? Mendoza asked. We researched, we read, we flew in experts, Lorenzo said proudly. Scientists from Italy, from Argentina, they developed special grapes that do not faint in the heat. Camilla beamed. Once we stopped blaming each other, we became a team again. And now look. She gestured at the tasting hall with triumph. We are thriving. Mendoza glanced around at the Valentine spectacle. I can see that. Lorenzo lifted a bottle of rosé as if introducing a newborn. And yesterday we presented our new vintage. Camilla's eyes sparkled. A Valentine's rosé. We had a lovely event here. Such joy. So many people. If only poor Dr. Pike could have tasted it. Mendoza kept her tone neutral. What time did the presentation end? Oh, late, Lorenzo said. Very late. Past 10, I think? Maybe later. We were singing. Camilla nodded. He brings out the guitar when he is, what is the word? Tipsy, Lorenzo supplied. Yes, this, Camilla said. He was tipsy, very tipsy. Mendoza stood. Thank you both. We appreciate your time. They escorted Alex and Mendoza to the door with another round of dramatic hand gestures and offers of rosé. When the cruiser doors closed, Mendoza stared straight ahead. They're either completely innocent or doing the best acting I've ever seen. They seem genuinely happy. Looks like it, Mendoza said, but I'm going to check their alibi anyway. She pulled out her phone and hit call. Lucian, we need you to check something. Lucian sounded mildly panicked. Are you calling to tell me the winemakers did it? Because Shannon will be so disappointed. No, Mendoza said. We just need confirmation of their alibi. They said they held a rosé launch event last night. Can you find out what time it was, who was there, if anyone posted anything about it? Oh, Lucien said, relieved. That's easy. Give me a few minutes. Text me when you have it. She hung up and put the car in gear. Alex looked out at the vineyard again, sunlight catching on strings of red lanterns. Well, she said, one thing's clear. What's that? Of all Pike's clients, the Giulianos understood his method better than anyone. Mendoza snorted. They worked toward a common goal, not just hated someone together. Yes, Alex said, settling back, and made rosé out of it. Chapter 10. Mendoza had barely left the vineyard when Shannon's name flashed on the screen. Shannon? Everything okay? Oh my God, yes, everything's fine, Shannon said in a rush. But I needed to tell you before you wasted any more time thinking the Giulianos might be murderers. Mendoza shot Alex a look. I'm listening. I just checked social media, and there are, no exaggeration, like 100 people who posted videos from their rosé launch last night. Lives, stories, everything. Camilla was dancing in at least 20 of them. Lorenzo was doing something with a guitar. Alex smiled. Something? It looked like flamenco but angrier, Shannon said. Anyway, point is, they were definitely there. All night. People filmed them from every angle. Why are you calling me and not Lucien? It is his job to check for alibis, not yours. Oh, he ran off a few minutes ago, Shannon said. Mumbled something about checking on my surprise for tonight and then sprinted toward the beach with his phone out. Don't be mad at him. Mendoza sighed. Fine, I'm not mad. Alex laughed softly. You still don't know what the surprise is? No, Shannon said. But he keeps texting with Carlos. Carlos is not answering my texts, by the way, which I find extremely suspicious. Mendoza snorted. I swear if that man planned a Valentine's-themed drag show for you... Shannon gasped delightedly. Oh my God, imagine! If he did, I wouldn't be disappointed at all. No, Alex said, amused. You really wouldn't? Anyway, Shannon said, just wanted to update you before you interrogated more innocent winemakers. Gotta run do my makeup now. If it is a drag show, I can't go like this. She hung up with a dramatic sigh. Alex stared out the windshield. We're officially out of suspects. Mendoza nodded. It's time to shift focus. To what? Alex asked. To Pike himself, his life outside the office. We've exhausted what his clients can tell us. Maybe we'll find clues his house. They drove north, the road curving along a hillside that gave sweeping views of the sea. Alex rested her elbow on the door, Pike's notes still balanced on her lap. What's that face? Mendoza asked. Alex blinked. What face? The one where you've noticed something and haven't decided if you want to tell me yet. It's nothing specific, Alex said. Just discomfort. With what? The Pike's theory, Alex said slowly. I have to admit that it works. It helps people, but there is something very manipulative about it. He makes people ignore the real roots of their marital problems and create a fictional one they can hate that is not very ethical. Maybe that's why he left academia, not to deal with the ethics board. I guess. Pike's address showed up as a white stone house with clean lines, a dark wooden door, and white bougainvillea climbing the trellis. Mendoza pulled up to the gate. Looks expensive. Looks like the kind of place a Bond villain retreats to when he wants quiet time. Mendoza rolled her eyes. You sound like your husband. Alex stifled a laugh. Mendoza retrieved the key from the evidence bag and opened the door. Well, she said, stepping inside, here we go. Alex followed her into a cool, airy living room filled with soft colors and expensive furniture that looked like it had never been truly sat on. The house felt like Pike's notes, curated, clinical, and missing something profoundly human. No family photos, no useless knickknacks, not a single pillow out of place. All right, let's see what secrets Dr. Pike left behind, Mendoza said, and headed straight to the bedroom. She reappeared in the doorway a minute later. Alex, you need to see this. Alex stepped into the bedroom. The first thing she noticed was how beautiful it all was. Soft cream walls, light wood floors, linen curtains moved slightly by the breeze from a cracked open window. Everything in soft neutrals, soothing, spa-like. The second thing she noticed was the slippers, a delicate pair, pale peach fabric embroidered with tiny flowers, set neatly beside the bed. A matching silk bathrobe hung on a hook near the closet. Nothing else in the room was feminine. No makeup bag, no jewelry dish, no hairbrush. Just these soft, intimate items that felt like they belonged to someone who lived here or wanted to. Mendoza gestured at them. You see what I mean? Alex nodded quietly. Yes. He did have a girlfriend, Mendoza said. We just need to figure out who she is. There are no photos anywhere. Let's look around. Maybe we'll find something. They wandered into his office. A stack of handwritten pages sat in a neat pile on the left side of the desk. On the right, a manuscript draft lay open, title printed cleanly across the top. United in Opposition, A Framework for Modern Relationships, Jeremy Pike. Oh, fantastic. He wanted the general public to utilize his bizarre theory, Mendoza said, flipping through it. I'll have to watch out for the rise of violent crime once this gets published. Alex opened to the introduction and read a few lines silently. The further she went, the more her brows drew together. What? Mendoza asked. Alex exhaled. He writes about using his theory on himself. He says he didn't want to be an observer. He wanted to test relational cohesion in real time. Mendoza blinked. English, please. He applied his theory within his own relationship, Alex said. Deliberately, he calls it immersive data collection. Mendoza stared. So, he used his girlfriend as a guinea pig. Alex nodded once, a sharp motion. He writes about it clinically, completely detached. It's unsettling. Mendoza leaned an elbow on the desk. Do we know who she was? No, Alex said softly, turning another page. But he describes her as highly intelligent, emotionally responsive, and ideal for demonstrating accelerated bonding when confronted with an external adversary. That's... Mendoza struggled for the right word. Gross. It's unethical, Alex said flatly. He didn't treat her as a partner. He treated her as a controlled variable. Mendoza scanned the room one more time. Poor woman didn't know she was dating a research freak. Alex let the manuscript fall shut gently. It explains a lot. Including why someone might stab him with a letter opener, Mendoza muttered. Alex didn't argue. She wandered toward the far side of the room, past a tall bookshelf filled with psychology texts and leather-bound journals. If Pike was using his partner to test his theory, then whoever she was deeply involved with him. It wasn't a casual fling. And extremely manipulated, Mendoza added. Yes, Alex said, walking out of the office and back to the bedroom. And, Mendoza continued, she might have been the very last person to see him alive. Alex nodded and opened the door to the bathroom. Mendoza crossed her arms. Question is, who is she? Alex walked out of the bathroom and lifted her hand. I think, she said softly. I know. Chapter 11. A small, colorful pendant on a golden chain dangled from Alex's hand. That looks exactly like, Mendoza said. Clara's earrings, Alex finished for her. A matching set. They stood in the hallway for a long, silent beat, the pendant swaying slightly between them. But she didn't give anything away, Mendoza said, bewildered. How could she fool us? Are we losing our grip? Alex exhaled slowly. She mentioned she's a journalist. That's practiced restraint. Of course, Mendoza scrubbed a hand across her face. So Jay wasn't Giuliano's. It was for journalist. That's how he tagged her, Alex said, sitting down on Pike's immaculate couch, his little shorthand, not even her name, just her job. He dated her, Mendoza shook her head, and didn't even bother to use her name in his notes. I am sorry he's dead, but Jeremy Pike was a horrible person. Mendoza tilted her head. You know, I think that's the politest phrasing anyone on this island has ever used. Alex gave a humorless smile. Can you imagine Reg having me in his phone as therapist? Mendoza snorted. Please, he absolutely has a heart emoji next to your name, maybe 3. Alex shook her head, but there was a small, reluctant smile tugging at her mouth. He better. Mendoza reached into her pocket, pulling out her phone. All right. Time to loop in the kid. She dialed Lucien. He picked up immediately. No, don't rearrange anything by accident, please, and don't touch the remote. Hi, boss. There was the sound of something metallic clunking in the background. Then someone, Carlos presumably, saying, They won't touch anything, darling. Mendoza's eyes narrowed. Lucien, what are you doing? Valentine's related activity, Shannon adjacent. Please don't make me incriminate myself. Mendoza groaned. I get it, it's Valentine's, love is in the air, etc., but I need something fast. Tell me, I need you to check with Tex and Crane. Did they pull any usable prints from Pike's body or from the letter opener? Letter opener, yes, Lucien said. Body, maybe. Crane haven't sent in his report yet, but the Tex should have already processed everything. Good. The moment you get the prints, run them against Clara Tadeo. There was a 2-second pause. Lucien processing, recalibrating. Clara, as in, the assistant transcriber journalist Clara? That Clara? That Clara? Oh, he said, then again, quieter. Oh, exactly, Mendoza replied. Lucien cleared his throat. All right, give me 20 minutes. I'll call back. Good. And Lucien? Yes, boss? Good luck with the surprise. A muffled, I said don't touch the buttons, came through the phone before the line disconnected. Mendoza exhaled and slipped the phone back into her pocket. He's doomed. He loves her, Alex said lightly. Love makes people do foolish things. Mendoza gestured at the pendant in Alex's hand, and sometimes terrible ones. Alex's expression dimmed. We still need full confirmation. Yes, Mendoza agreed. Let's check the jewelry shop while Lucien gets confirmation for prints. Maybe they'll remember who bought this pendant. The jewelry boutique at the marina had that faintly intimidating glow all high-end shops carried. Soft lighting, polished glass, and the quiet implication that even the dust motes were curated. A spray of enamel jewelry hung in a display case, one more colorful than the other. Mendoza flashed her badge the moment they walked in. "Good afternoon. We need help to identify a purchase." The woman behind the counter straightened with immediate interest. "Of course, detective." Mendoza lifted the evidence bag containing the pendant. "Do you carry this line?" The woman nodded, already pulling a small magnifier from her apron. "We make all our pieces in-house. Everything's one of a kind." She flipped the pendant gently between her fingers until she found the tiny engraving on the back. "Here, each piece has a serial number. Let me pull the record." She moved to the computer behind the counter. A few clicks, a frown of concentration. "Yes," the woman said. "These were purchased by a Jeremy Pike a few days before Christmas." Before Mendoza could ask her next question, another salesperson drifted out from the back room. "Did someone mention Pike?" she asked. "The gentleman who bought the violet set?" "Yes," the first woman said. "Here is the pendant." "It should have earrings that go with it," the older woman added. "I remember because he showed me a woman's photo on his phone, wanted something to complement her eyes, very particular about undertones. Sweet man, a bit intense." Mendoza pulled out her own phone and hovered the screen in front of her. Clara's smiling face lit up the screen. "Was this the woman?" The older woman's eyebrows shot up. "Yes, exactly her. I remember thinking she had one of those complexions that would look good in any color." The bell above the boutique door chimed. In walked Reg wearing a midnight blue suit holding a bouquet of red tropical flowers. His hair was brushed back, the beard trimmed, and he wore actual shoes. Mendoza blinked. What in the world? Alex looked at her husband wide-eyed. "Reg, what are you doing here?" He lifted the flowers slightly. "Two things. First, Tex got the prince. Full match to Clara Tadeo." Mendoza let out a low, satisfied breath. "Good, finally." "Second, I'm here to take my wife to dinner, because if we leave any later we'll have to skip dessert, and I don't like the idea of that." Alex stared down at her jeans. "Reg, I'm not going to the Golden Fig dressed like this." "You're not," he said, as if it were obvious. "Your dress and makeup bag are in the car." Mendoza pinched the bridge of her nose. "You tracked us down to a jewelry store." Reg looked almost offended. "I just asked Lucien to ping the cruiser's location." The older saleswoman laughed softly. "Romantic men are a rare species." Reg smiled at her. "Yes, ma'am, I'm almost a unicorn." Mendoza snapped back into officer mode. "Well, now that we have the prince confirmed and the jewelry verified, I need to go arrest the woman who killed a world-renowned therapist because he treated her like," she waved a hand, "homework." Reg stepped aside to let her pass. "Go get her, Mendoza." Alex took the flowers, still slightly dazed, and looked up at him. "You planned all of this?" "Only the part that ends with you having dinner with me," he said, eyes softening. "Everything else is just San Malvino doing San Malvino things." Alex shook her head. "You're impossible." Mendoza checked her watch. "All right, lovebirds. See you after dinner. Alex, try not to think about Pike's method for at least an hour." Alex lifted the flowers in a half salute. "I'll try." Reg looked at Alex with a mischievous smile. "While we're in a jewelry shop, let's get my beautiful wife something nice." Chapter 12. "Detective, is everything all right? Do you need more assistance with the investigation?" Clara asked when Mendoza knocked on her door. She walked inside and shut the door behind her. "No, I don't need assistance. A confession will do." Clara sat back down at her desk. "I'm not sure I understand what you mean." "Well," Mendoza said, "let me help you with that." She took out the evidence bag with the pendant and lifted to Clara's eyes. She blinked. Once, twice. Her throat moved in a swallow. "We found it in Dr. Pike's home. It is a part of a set with the earrings you're wearing right now." Clara touched her ear instinctively. "That doesn't mean—" "It does," Mendoza said. "We pulled your prints from the letter opener and Pike's clothes." "Maybe I touched him by accident." "Did you leave your pendant and a silk robe in his house by accident too? I'm sure we'll pull your prints from it too." Clara drew in a shuddery breath. I was just helping him, transcribing his notes, sometimes in his house. You weren't just his transcriber, Mendoza continued. We have proof he bought this jewelry set for you. There's no point in denying it. Clara's hands tightened together until her knuckles whitened. I didn't. She stopped, pressed her lips together, tried again. Detective, I think there's been a misunderstanding. There hasn't, Mendoza said quietly. Listen to me. I already have enough to charge you without a confession. But after learning about Dr. Pike's theory and reading the introduction in his manuscript, I do want to hear your side. Finally, Clara whispered, I didn't mean to kill him. Mendoza kept looking at her. Clara swallowed. He wasn't who I thought he was. I'm sure, Mendoza said. Why don't you start from the beginning? We started dating about a month after he hired me, she said. At first, it felt magical. He was intense, but in a way that made you feel like you were something rare. He'd ask these questions, sharp, specific, perfectly tailored to make me feel seen. Her breath wavered. I thought he genuinely cared. I thought he understood me. Mendoza stayed silent, giving her room. Clara twisted her fingers together. I've been thinking about pursuing a career in literary writing. Wanted to go back to school and do a PhD in English literature. He told me I had talent, that I didn't need a PhD to write, that academia would kill my creativity. He said that if I wanted to be great, really great, I just needed repetition, practice. He made it sound noble, rejecting all that structure. And you believed him, Mendoza said quietly. Clara nodded. I did. He framed everything like he was helping me, protecting me from wasting time. I trusted him so much that when he said he needed me to transcribe his book notes, I felt honored. She gave a small, humorless laugh. Honored? God! Mendoza leaned a little closer. Tell me about his last notes. Clara closed her eyes for a moment. He handed me a stack of handwritten pages. The final chapter of his book, he said. He was excited, proud. I didn't read them right away. I went home, made tea, sat at my desk. It was supposed to be another night of typing, another night of helping him. She swallowed. But then I started reading. And? Mendoza prompted. Clara lifted her gaze. There was no anger now, only the aching confusion of someone who'd been blindsided by the truth. He wrote about us, she whispered. Not just references, not metaphors, us. Every conversation we'd had about my future, every doubt I'd confided, every ambition he'd dismantled, every moment of encouragement he'd framed as alignment. He called it evidence. He called our relationship a study, Clara continued, voice unsteady. He wrote that our relationship was a perfect test case, that guiding me to abandon graduate school, something I desperately wanted and see it as a waste of time, was a successful example of a common adversary. He said it strengthened our bond, strengthened the data. Mendoza's jaw tightened. And you confronted him. I had to. Clara's breath hitched. I went to his office last night. I told him what I read. I asked him how he could do that to me, how he could use me like a tool. And he... She broke off, pressing a shaking hand to her mouth. He didn't apologize. He didn't even look sorry. What did he say? Mendoza asked. That I was overreacting? That I should be proud. Tears welled but didn't fall. He said no therapist had ever applied their own theory so boldly, that it made me part of something historic, that our relationship, my feelings, validated his work. He said I should be grateful. Mendoza kept listening. I told him I wasn't an experiment. I told him it wasn't ethical. He just kept smiling, this small, superior smile, and said ethics were constraints for the unoriginal, that he and I were beyond that. Her breath rattled. He walked around his desk, picked up one of his notebooks, and said he might have to revise the last chapter now that I'd reacted emotionally, as if my anger was just another data point. And then, Mendoza asked softly. Clara stared at the floor. I snapped. I swept everything off his desk, papers, Folders, all of it. They scattered everywhere. He told me to calm down, told me we'd talk after I'd regained perspective. Her body trembled. The letter opener was just there on the table. I didn't think. I didn't plan. I just... Mendoza waited. Clara's voice came out as a whisper. I picked it up. I don't remember deciding to. I just did. And he stepped toward me, saying my reaction was fascinating, and She forced the words out. I stabbed him. Mendoza kept listening. Clara's next breath was jagged. I didn't realize what I'd done until he fell. I kneeled beside him, but there was so much blood. His eyes were open, but he wasn't there. Her face crumpled. I panicked. I threw the papers in my bag and rushed out the building. She covered her face with her hands. I didn't mean to kill him. I just wanted him to see what he'd done to me. Clara, Mendoza said after a pause, believe you didn't intend to kill him. And I will recommend you be evaluated for affect and state of mind. But Jeremy Pike is dead. Stand up. Mendoza pulled the cuffs from her belt. Clara Tadeo, you are under arrest for the murder of Jeremy Pike. As Mendoza guided her out of the office and toward the waiting cruiser, Clara whispered, barely audible, I loved him. I really did. Chapter 13. By the time Mendoza made it to Isla Lirio, everyone was gathered at Alex and Reg's porch. Only instead of Lucien and Shannon, there was Carlos, stretching his long legs and sipping on some Cuban rum from Rafa's stash. Hey, Mendoza said as she stepped up the porch stairs, tugging her ponytail loose. Hope no one minds me crashing the party. Let me pour you a drink, Reg said. You've earned one. Alex smiled up at her. How did it go? Clara confessed, eventually. To be honest, it was kind of hard to hear, she sighed. And I heard a lot of confessions. Turns out he convinced her that pursuing a degree I literature, which she really wanted, was a waste of time. Academia as common adversary, Alex said. Exactly. But even with all that, it's not a good enough reason to kill. Alex nodded slowly, fingers brushing her new necklace. No, it isn't. Reg took a sip of his drink. That whole theory of his was terrible anyway. People shouldn't bond over shared enemies. That's not love. 100% with you on this, Gary said, lifting his glass. People should unite over things they love, like junk food and old movies. Polly bobbed his head, puffed up, and screeched, Junk love! Bad cinema! Mendoza blinked. I'm choosing not to unpack that. Carlos chuckled. And I thought I personally know all the weirdos living on this island. Carlos, Mendoza said, giving him a mock glare. What in the world are you doing here? Isn't this your busiest night? Shouldn't you be at Mamacita's preventing tequila-fueled disasters? Oh, please, he said, waving a hand. Mamacita's is closed on Valentine's Day. He leaned forward conspiratorially. Drunk fishermen looking for romance, plus my half-naked dancers. That's a disaster waiting to happen. He shuddered dramatically. I cherish my bar and my peace of mind. Rafa nodded knowingly. He's not wrong. But, Carlos continued, brightening, I love love, and I was very happy to help Lucien with his surprise. Alex perked up. Yes, what did he plan? He's been so mysterious about it. Gary pulled himself upright. Yeah, Carlos, spill. Carlos checked his watch, grinning. Well, if you all look toward the sea, you'll see it in about a minute. Everyone swiveled toward the horizon. Even Bombay got up and ran toward the gate. Should we be concerned? Reg asked. Lucian's surprises can go either way. Oh, this one is very romantic, Carlos assured, though it did require 2 fishing pangas, about 50 rechargeable batteries, a questionable amount of extension cords, and 2 relatively sober fishermen. Relatively? Rafa asked. Carlos shrugged. It's San Malvino. That's as good as it gets. He's not proposing, is he? Relax, detective. He's not. Just then, the darkening sky above the water flickered. A thin line of soft pink light cut across the twilight like someone drawing with a neon pen. Oh, Alex breathed. The line thickened, curved, and looped. More beams joined it, blue, green, pale gold, stitching themselves across the sky. The lights gathered, shimmered, and then wrote themselves clearly across the heavens in glowing, enormous script. Shannon, I love you to the moon and back. This has been Death by Couples Therapy, a hilarious feel-good cozy mystery, book 22 in the Island Whodunit series, written by Tess Marlowe.
Thank you for listening to Death by Couples Therapy. If you enjoyed the story, don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss the next mystery. See you on San Malvino.